Sometimes reality seems like a mirror that refuses to obey us. We think, we plan, we desire, but the world responds differently, as if listening to a language different from ours. There are days when the mind runs ahead, full of intentions, while life moves at another pace, silent, impenetrable. In this disagreement, invisible fatigue is born, the sensation of constant effort, like rowing against a current that we don't see. Perhaps the problem was never the strength of the river, but the direction from our own gaze. When we observe nature, we realize that nothing in it tries to impose its will. The mountain doesn't argue with the wind, the river doesn't argue with the stones, the rain doesn't argue with the wind, negotiates with the soil. Everything moves in a discrete harmony, where each gesture is born from an internal adjustment, not an imposition. There is ancient knowledge in this flow, a secret silent that requires no effort, just presence. That's where mind and reality walk together, without conflict, like two shores recognizing the same course. From an early age, we learn to believe that aligning our lives means controlling results. Think right, act right, achieve right. However, the more we tighten this control, but reality seems to slip through our fingers. The mind fills with noise, expectations, projected fears, and the world begins to respond with resistance. Like murky water, no longer we reflect who we really are. Misalignment is not born outside. It starts at interior, in excess, in haste, in the constant attempt to correct the natural flow. There is, however, a gentler path, a silent return to the center, where the mind rests like a calm lake. When we stop the internal struggle, something reorganizes itself effortlessly. Reality stops being the enemy and becomes a mirror again, not because the world changed, but because the water cleared. This is the invisible principle that crosses cultures and times. Before touching the world, it is necessary to purify the internal space where it will be reflected. If you feel like there's something invisible guiding your days, this video is for you. Allow yourself listen, without rushing, without defense. Along this journey, we will walk together through this forgotten alignment, where mind and reality breathe at the same pace again. Stay here, go through this portal calmly, and notice what changes when you stop forcing and start listening. The initial silence reveals more than 1,000 mental explanations. There is a moment when we realize that thinking too much doesn't get us any further. The mind creates maps, strategies, scenarios, but reality insists on unexpected paths. The more we try to anticipate each step, the more we feel the friction of the world against us. Our expectations. It's like pushing the wind with your hands. The effort is there, but the result is never what we imagine. In this mismatch, life begins to seem hard, unpredictable, almost hostile. We live, surrounded by stimuli that teach us to control. Control time, emotions, results, people, the future. The mind becomes a room full of voices speaking at the same time, each demanding immediate direction. In this constant noise, we lose the ability to hear the subtler rhythm of reality. The world doesn't respond in a hurry. It responds to internal coherence. And when that coherence breaks, everything it seems out of place. Observe a dammed river. The water, prevented from following its course, begins to put pressure on the margins, looking for gaps, accumulating tension. Something similar happens within us. Unfelt emotions, repeated thoughts, thwarted desires accumulate like still water. The mind hardens, and what should flow begins to resist. So we say that life is difficult, when in fact, we are the ones who become rigid. The problem is not in thinking, but in living only in the mind. When she takes over absolute command, disconnected from the body, silence and the present moment creates a parallel reality. We start to react to internal images instead of responding to what is before us. The real world takes its course, while our attention remains stuck to what could be, to what should have been, to what we fear will happen. This distance, it generates frustration, anxiety, and a constant feeling of being late. Nature offers a silent contrast. Nothing in it rushes to get anywhere some. The tree grows in the tree's time. The cloud dissolves when it's time. The night arrives. Effortlessly. There is no conflict between intention and result because there is no need to impose. Everything is organized from within. When we observe this with attention, something in us recognizes a forgotten truth. Reality does not need to be forced to cooperate. The misalignment between mind and world arises when we forget this simple principle. We want life to fit our ideas, rather than fit our ideas to the movement of life. The more we insist, the more the world seems to resist. But this resistance is not punishment, it's an invitation. A silent call to step back, breathe, and realize of moving away from the natural flow. Perhaps aligning mind and reality is not about gaining more control, but about dissolving the excess of him. Maybe it's learning to let go, to listen, to feel before deciding. When the mind slows down, the world starts to talk differently. And it is in this space of listening that something new is preparing to emerge. Not by force, but by the harmony that we are yet to explore. There is a simple gesture that precedes every true encounter: cleaning. Before entering a sacred space, remove the dust from your feet. Before touching the water, calm the body. Before acting in the world, something inside needs to be purified. Not as punishment or guilt, but as preparation. Reality, like a mirror, reflects faithfully what you find in front of you. When the surface is covered with invisible residue, the reflection distorts, even if the light is bright. The human mind accumulates more than it realizes. Old thoughts, no emotions resolved, words unspoken, inherited fears. All this is deposited slowly, like sediments at the bottom of a lake. At first, the water still appears clear, but with the time, any movement shakes the bottom and everything becomes blurred. So we look at the world and we see it confused, threatening, incoherent, without realizing that the reflection just reveals the state of the internal water. Purifying is not erasing the past, nor eliminating thoughts. It's allowing them nod. It's about creating space. Just as still water becomes clear when it is not disturbed, the mind finds clarity when we stop agitating it all the time. The silence, it is not empty. It is a fertile field where excess naturally dissolves. In this state, reality stops seeming hostile because we no longer project our internal residues onto it. In modern life, we are taught to react immediately. Feel something and respond. Think something and act. Desire something and seek it. This constant movement prevents decantation. No, we give time for emotions to find their place. We carry everything with us, so every situation, and then we wonder why everything weighs so much. The purification begins when we interrupt this automatic cycle and allow the moment to come to us. Cross without resistance. Watch the rain wash the dust from the air. Watch the wind clear the sky. Observe the autumn taking away what is already completed. Its cycle. Nature does not keep what is no longer useful. She trusts the renewal process. The human being, however, insists on carrying it, and how much the more it carries, the more reality responds with density. Not because he wants to punish, but because it reflects accurately. When the water within becomes clear, something changes effortlessly. Situations seem more simple, the decisions more natural, the encounters lighter. Not because everything has become perfect, but because the mirror reflected again without distortion. Reality doesn't have to be corrected when the mind is clear. It just reveals itself. This is the silent turning point. Before seeking alignment outside, it is necessary to restore the clarity within. Before asking the world for signs, it is necessary to silence the internal noise. A purification is not a distant ritual. It is an everyday gesture of presence. And when this gesture becomes constant, reality begins to respond differently, as if recognize an ancient harmony that was just dormant. There are forces that cannot be seen, but they sustain everything. Silent chains that organize meetings, separations, beginnings and endings. When we try to see them with the restless mind, they disappear. But when we still, we feel. Harmony with the invisible is not born from the attempt to understand, but from the willingness to listen. So as the wind is only perceived when it touches the skin, the invisible only reveals itself when there is space. Interior. Nature never separates itself from these forces. The tree grows guided by something that is not explains. The bird migrates guided by a call it cannot see. The tides follow a rhythm that crosses impossible distances. None of this is controlled. Everything is aligned. When human beings try to live only by calculation, this silent dialogue breaks. He begins to act as if he were alone, and his inner loneliness grows. even in the midst of crowds. Harmony is not passivity, it's fine-tuning. It is recognizing the right moment to move forward and the right time to wait. There are gestures that, when done prematurely, break the flow. There are words that, when spoken in silence, find the right heart. The invisible responds to internal time, not to external urgency. That's why so many attempts fail, not for lack of effort, but due to lack of listening. When we align ourselves with this subtle rhythm, life begins to cooperate in a different way, not as a reward, but as a consequence. Paths open because we stop push wrong doors. People come closer because we no longer demand it. Situations if resolved because we stop excessive interference. The invisible does not like to be forced. He reveals himself when he is respected. There is a delicacy there, a task that requires courage. The courage to not know. A courage to trust in the gap between desire and fulfillment. In the meantime, something organizes beyond our vision. This is where reality meets the mind without resistance. No, it is distant mysticism. It is everyday sensitivity. A way of being in the world with attention relaxed, like someone walking barefoot on the earth. If this idea resonates with you, it is a sign that something inside has already awakened. Don't try to capture this feeling. Just allow it to remain. The less you squeeze it, the more it expands. Harmony with the invisible grows in the space we leave between a thought and another, between one action and another, between control and delivery. Notice how life responds when you slow down a little more than usual, when you choose to listen before acting, when you accept not understanding everything. This simple gesture creates a silent bridge between the interior and the world, and on that bridge, mind and reality, they begin to walk together, without friction, guided by something greater than personal will. This harmony does not announce its arrival with noise. It manifests as lightness, and when we perceive this lightness, we know that we are closer to the center than we never were. The next step appears on its own at the right time, like a falling leaf when the wind finally changes. There is a precise moment in which the gesture meets the world without resistance. Not before, nor after. When that moment arrives, the action seems simple, almost obvious, as if it had always been there waiting. There is no tension in the shoulders, no rush in the heart. Oh, the body moves naturally, and the mind follows in silence. This is the right gesture at the right time, not created by anxiety but recognized by presence. Much of human suffering arises from the attempt to act outside of this internal time. We do it too soon for fear of losing. We do it too late because of hesitation. We do too much to compensate for insecurity. In all these cases, the action carries weight. It's like pushing a door that should be pulled, or insisting on moving forward when the path calls for a break. The misalignment is not in the intention, but in the timing chosen. Observe nature again. The bud does not force the flower to open. He waits for the light, the temperature, the season. When everything aligns, blossoming happens effortlessly visible. The right gesture does not require violence, just maturation. This also happens with us. There are decisions that only become clear when we stop pushing for them. There are words that only find meaning when they mature in silence. In modern life, we confuse action with constant movement. We believe that stopping is fail, that waiting is wasting time. But conscious waiting is not inertia. It's listening. It's the space where the true gesture is formed. When we act from this place, the action makes it economical, precise, almost invisible. We use less energy because we are not fighting the flow. At work, this manifests itself when we know when to speak and when to observe. Nas relationships, when we feel the exact moment to approach or retreat. In decisions personal, when we recognize that it is not time yet, even if the mind insists. Oh, the right gesture respects the internal rhythm, not the external clock. It is born from an attention tuned to the present. This type of action requires trust. Trust that silence also works. Trust that not everything needs to be resolved now. Trust that reality responds better to the clarity of than in a hurry. When we trust, the body relaxes, and the mind stops fighting for control. Then, the gesture appears almost alone, as if it were driven by something broader than individual will. There is an unmistakable feeling when this happens. The action flows, and the result falls into place, no friction. Even though it wasn't exactly what we imagined, we feel like it was correct. Regret diminishes, guilt dissolves because we know we acted from an intact place. The right gesture does not guarantee external success, but it guarantees coherence internal. This is silent learning, built little by little. The more we respect our inner time, we more often recognize the appropriate moment. And when that becomes natural, life stops seeming like a sequence of disconnected efforts. She passes to organize itself in simple, aligned movements where mind and reality cooperate. It is at this point that we begin to realize something new. When the gesture is fair, the world responds with less resistance, as if recognizing the same harmony that was already present before the action. There comes a time when something changes without announcement. There are no grandiose signs or visible promises, just a discrete sense of fit. Reality begins to set in, respond in another way. Situations that previously required effort can now be resolved with less friction. Paths that seemed closed reveal small openings, not because the world decided to be generous, but because the mind stopped interfering where it was not necessary. When we are aligned, we begin to notice subtle coincidences, dating unexpected, words that arrive at the exact moment, opportunities that arise without persecution, not as magic, but as a natural consequence of a more profound internal state. Of course, just as a tuned instrument resonates better with its surroundings, a mind-in-tune harmony resonates with the movement of life. Reality responds to the tone we emit, not to the demands we make. Before, everything seemed to require a fight. Every step needed to be pushed, every result ripped out. Now there is a sense of silent cooperation. This does not mean absence of challenges, but change in the way they present themselves. Obstacles no longer become walls and become curves in the path. They demand attention, not confrontation. They ask adjust, not force. When we recognize this, tension decreases and clarity increases. This reality response is often subtle at first. It's easy to ignore it if we're still trapped in the expectation of great transformations, but it manifests itself in the details. On the day that flows better than expected, in the conversation that resolves an old impasse, in the decision which becomes obvious after so much noise. These are discrete signs that something has reorganized inside, and the world just followed. There is also a change in the relationship with control. We no longer feel the need to watch everything. We trust the process more, even without understanding each step. This creates space for life to move more freely. Paradoxically, the less we try to control, more coherence emerges. Reality doesn't like shaking hands. She responds better to open gestures. At this stage, we realize that aligning mind and reality is not an end goal, but a state that is renewed. There are days of greater clarity and days of dispersion. The difference is that now we know how to return. We know where to adjust, where to mute, where to wait. The answer from reality becomes an ongoing dialogue, not an isolated event. Ancient metaphors speak of portals that open when we are ready, not when we desire. These portals do not lead to another place, but to the same path seen from another shape. The reality remains the same, but our internal position changes. And this change changes everything. What once felt like resistance now feels like guidance. When reality begins to respond, we also learn to listen better. We leave of interpreting everything as an attack or reward. We start to see each event as part of a larger movement. This brings serenity. No, because everything becomes predictable, but because we stopped fighting the unpredictable. This is the clearest sign of alignment, the feeling of being in the right place, even without guarantees. The mind rests, the body follows, and reality flows. Not like a dream perfect, but like a living path, where each step meets the ground at the exact moment. And when we recognize this, we know we are ready to close this journey, not as an end, but as a conscious return to the silence that sustains everything. There is a silent point where everything returns to the beginning, not as a repetition, but as recognition. After going through the noise of the mind, the inner purification, listening to the invisible and the gesture fair, we realize that the alignment has always been available. It wasn't something to be achieved but remembered, like a path covered with leaves. which it reappears when we stop running and begin to feel the ground beneath our feet. Aligning mind and reality does not mean living without challenges. It means crossing them with entirety. When the interior is in harmony, even difficult experiences find place. Pain does not become an enemy. Error does not turn into condemnation. Uncertainty does not paralyze us. Everything starts to be seen as part of a larger cycle, where each season has its own function. Winter collects, spring awakens, summer expands, autumn gives back. To resist this movement is to create unnecessary suffering. In this return to the center, something essential reveals itself. Life does not demand perfection, it demands presence. We don't need to understand everything to be aligned. We just need to be available to what is. When we let go of the need to control the invisible, it becomes next. When we let go of the fight against the flow, we discover that we have always been supported by him. Reality stops being a battlefield and becomes a space-again meeting. Perhaps the true Oriental secret has never been a technique, a method, or a promise. Maybe it's an internal attitude towards the world, a way of walking with reverence like someone stepping on living ground, a way of looking at events as personal obstacles, but as neutral messages from a larger movement. When this posture settles in, the mind naturally slows down, and reality responds with clarity. There is a stillness that arises in this state. It is not the absence of thought, but the absence of conflict. The mind thinks when it needs to, rests when it can. The heart feels without drown. The body acts without seeing island. Everything finds its place, and in this place there is no hurry to get to another. Life stops being a race for results and becomes a path of coherence. Along this journey, you may have recognized something familiar, an old feeling forgotten by the urgency of the days. If this happens, don't try to hold her back. Let her accompany you like a light breeze, not an obligation. Alignment does not maintain it through the strength of will, but through the constancy of inner care. Small gestures repeated with presence, they sustain more than occasional great efforts. Sign up and continue walking with us along the path of the soul. Here, each step is an invitation to listen, and each silence is part of the response. Not to accumulate certainties, but to deepen sensitivity to what is not seen, but felt. And when you return to the everyday world, take with you just this: the memory that mind and reality are not opposites. They are reflections on different surfaces of the same water. When one calms down, the other naturally organizes itself. There is no real separation, just listening levels. Perhaps destiny is not a line drawn in the future, but a constant whisper that tells us accompanied since birth. And maybe aligning mind and reality is just learning to hear that whisper again, in the interval between one thought and another, in the space where the invisible touches the visible without making a sound.